And tonight we're taking a closer look at the lawsuit between Gibson's Bakery and Oberlin College after the college was accused of branding the bakery as racist and encouraging protests outside. Today, a Lorain County judge reduced the judgment in the case from $44 million to about $25 million. And that's because of a cap on punitive damages in Ohio. This case dates back to November 2016 when 3 black students were arrested for assaulting owner David Gibson's son, Alan, who is white, after he caught one of the students shoplifting. Protests ensued over accusations of racial profiling. Well, earlier this week, we had the attorneys for the Gibsons on this show, and tonight we welcome Oberlin President Carmen Twilley Ambar and defense attorney Rochelle Zazar. Thank you so much, both to you, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
You know, I want to start off by saying, President Ambar, you were not at Oberlin College at the time of this original incident. When you look back now, would you have handled things differently if you were, and how?
You know, people ask me that question a lot. It's a complicated question because having been a college president for 11 years, when you sit in the seat, you know that you don't have all the facts on the ground. And so now we're looking at this incident 3 years later, essentially, with all the facts. And so it's hard to know whether I would have done things differently because what they knew at the time sort of drove them to make the decisions that they made. And we now have a different set of information.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You guys have been very vocal in recent days, just talking about how you disagree with the jury's decision and also the legal principles around this lawsuit. Can you explain why?
Right. Well, I will let our attorney talk about it a little bit, but I do think that this is really about the speech of students and whether a college should be held responsible for the speech of students. And there's oftentimes speech that's permissible speech, First Amendment speech that we allow folks to make. But this is also about a claim that this was impermissible speech. But fundamentally, did the college make it? Did the college produce the flyer? Did the college produce the Senate resolution? And the answer to that is no. And that's why it can have a chilling effect on speech, because what we would have to do to constrain students and faculty and staff, just in case we might be liable for that speech, will be constraining people's First Amendment rights.
Yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I would echo what President Ambar said and emphasize that, you know, the extraordinary amount of damages that were imposed here, and not just compensatory or actual damages, but punitive damages, were imposed with what the legal defense team believes, not the requisite degree of fault. And that kind of a verdict and a holding literally sets back First Amendment jurisprudence 40 or 50 years. And that should be a concern for everyone, including members of the press, who also rely on the amendment, the protections that the First Amendment and the libel laws, and particularly the actual malice standard, provides.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Have there been, or what repercussions have there been for Oberlin's employees following this?
Well, I think that we are still in the process of thinking about what this verdict means. I mean, certainly there are lessons learned for us around how to help not just employees, but faculty and staff recognize that sometimes while it may be permissible, it still may be hurtful. And people's perceptions of that can impact people's views of the institution. And so we'll be spending some time talking about that in the fall. And certainly we've done a lot of work with our students around what it means to be a good neighbor. So one of the first things I did was to institute this program called Community 101, where our students get a chance to meet with local businesses, local prosecutors, the city manager, and to talk about what it means to be a good neighbor and to address all the things that neighbors are concerned about so that we can be a valuable member of the community in ways that our neighbors appreciate.
You know, Gibson's Bakery has said that the family had hoped to hear from Oberlin, particularly after those students involved in this original incident entered guilty pleas and said that they had not been racially profiled. Do you think the Gibsons deserve an apology?
You know, I think the college has said that it was sorry that this happened, that they wish something else could have occurred here. But I also think it's important to remember that through this process, the college reached out to the Gibsons, tried to work with the Gibsons to do a joint statement, tried to work with the Gibsons to meet with the students, and the Gibsons decided that they didn't want to pursue that option. And so my understanding is that President Krisloff worked diligently to try to come to a meeting of the minds and, more importantly, help the Gibsons connect with the students, because that is one of the ways to ensure that the relationship is one that is a vibrant one for years to come.
Well, thank you again for being here. Before we go, you know, we talked about the judge's actions today. Do you plan to appeal this case further?
Well, I think that the Board of Trustees will have to think about all the implications of this decision. The sort of process of the trial is not fully complete yet, and so once that happens, then we'll make a determination about what our appellate options are.
All right. President Ambar and your attorney here, Rochelle Zadar, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.